Our lesson for today is about the organization of a research paper or the Imrad format. What is an Imrad report? A common scientific writing format is Imrad, which stands for Introduction, Method, Results, and Discussion. This type of scientific writing is useful for educating and recording knowledge about research processes as well as finding. So this format is often used for lab reports as well as for reporting any planned systematic research in the social sciences, natural sciences, or engineering and computer sciences. So here, we will focus on these parts of a research article. Understanding the purpose of each section will help you know how to read and write a research article. The question is, when do I use the Imrad format? If you are writing a paper where you are conducting objective research in order to answer a specific question, the Imrad format will most likely serve your best purposes. Next, the Imrad format is especially useful if you are conducting primary research such as experimentation, questionnaires, focus groups, observations, interviews, and so forth. But it can be applied even you are only conducting secondary research, which is research you gather from reading sources like books, magazines, journals, articles, and so forth. The goal of using the Imrad format is to present facts objectively, demonstrating a genuine interest and care in developing a new understanding about a topic. When using this format, you don't explicitly state an argument or opinion, but rather, you rely on collected data and previously researched information in order to make a claim. The first structure of IMRAD we have here introduction or make a case to your research. This section introduces the problem or gaps in present knowledge and discusses the purpose of the paper with a statement called a hypothesis. It immediately follows the abstract and sometimes isn't labeled as an introduction, but you should recognize it by its key features. Okay, so the introduction, meaning the introduction explains why this research is important or necessarily important. Begin by describing the problem or situation that motivates the research. Move to discussing the current state of research in the field. Then reveal a gap or problem in the field. Finally, explain how the present research is a solution to that problem or gap. If the study has hypotheses, they are presented at the end of the introduction. Here are the key features of introduction. First one, we have here the central concepts. A statement about the concepts and variables being studied in the start of an introduction. A general description of the concept of interest is all that is needed here. Next one, hypothesis. This is based on the research questions posed and is intended to predict expectations outcomes. The research questions identify the concepts and variables to be investigated and ask how the variables are related. What relationship does the author expect to find between the concept? The hypothesis takes it one step further by predicting an answer to that question. Next one, rhetorical or conceptual framework. This is typically an explicit statement of the theoretical concept that will connect and direct the researcher to existing knowledge on the topic. It provides the basis for the research and informs the choice of research methods. And the last one, we have here review of the literature. The introduction sometimes includes a brief literature review in which existing research on the topic is presented. Sometimes the literature review is a separated section that follows the introduction. Note for this, the intro or the introduction should always discuss the significance of this study, such as need for more information on the topic. The second structure of Imrad, we have here methods. Methods is what did you do in your research? The methods section tells readers how you conducted your research. It includes information about your population, sample, methods, and equipment. The gold standard of the methods section is that it should enable readers to duplicate your study. Meaning, the method sections discusses the methods of answering the research questions. It includes a description of a research design and plan, as well as the methods for measuring variables and collecting the data. It will include any procedures associated with the research, such as procedures for protecting human rights. Here are the key features of methods. Design. This section will specify the variables and the level of those variables which are identified as independent, dependent, control, or extraneous variable. It will describe if the research is within groups or between groups. Next is participants and subject. This part will describe who the participants were, how many, and how they were selected. It is a good place to discuss the features that make these participants unique and separate from the general population. A detailed description of efforts to protect and enhance the integrity of the subjects and the study is an important part of qualitative research. If humans are involved in research, the participants part of the methods section should always include whether this study was reviewed and approved by the ethics committee or institutional review board and or whether informed consent. Next is instruments and measures. This section will describe the research tools used in the study, why they were chosen, and if they are reliable, valid, and appropriate. It will also outline the unique measures appropriate to this specific research environment, thus it will include details about the study setting and context. Next is procedure. This is where the researcher explains what they did and how they did it. In details, it describes the procedures used, what the participants did, how the data was collected including step-by-step details. This section is detailed but concise. Last is data analysis methods. This section describes the statistical analysis completed. In a narrative summary format, it includes the statistical tests, levels of significance, and software used to complete the analysis. This part will include whether a statistician was used in the analysis and will justify the preferred statistical method used for the study. No results are discussed here. The third structure of Imrad, we have here results. This is what did you find? In this section, you present your findings. Typically, the results section contains only the findings, not any explanation or complimentary on the findings. Results sections are usually written in the past tense. Make sure all tables and figures are labeled and numbered separately. Captions go above tables and beneath figures. Meaning, this is where the findings from the data analysis are presented. It addresses the purpose of the study and answers the research questions. The main findings are presented first, followed by secondary findings. The results sections includes only the results, not a discussion of the results. The implication of the results are for the discussion section. The last structure of Imrad, we have here discussion, wherein what does it mean? In this section, you summarize your main findings, comment on those findings, and connect them to other research. You also discuss limitation of your study and use these limitations as reasons to suggest additional future research. Meaning, the discussion section is where the conclusions and results are interpreted. In light of the original hypothesis, it discusses the meaning and implications of the results. This section will include a statement interpreting the results along with specific clinical and research implications. What do findings mean? How they can be used in practice? Are the results consistent with previous research? So this is where researchers will acknowledge limitations and deficiencies of the study and make recommendations for future research. This section will end with a clear statement regarding the importance of the findings. Additional information about Imrad, we have here abstract or the summarize the entire study. The abstract for the report comes at the beginning of the paper, but you should write it after you have drafted the full report. Meaning, the abstract provides a very short overview of the entire paper, including a sentence or two about the report's purpose and importance, a sentence or two about your methods, a few sentences that present the main findings, and a sentence or two about the implication of your findings. If you have any question about this topic, please comment your name. We will address all your questions during our synchronous classes. If none, kindly click the thumbs up. Thank you.